How you guys doing? Uh, Going to put my glasses on so they don't fall off. I'll be right back. What I've got to do is to put some announcements out there so that all the guys will know about it. Hang on, let me put these things on. There we go. Okie doke. Be back in a second. By the way, while you're waiting, any topic, any watch discussion topic you want to talk about, let me know. Okie doke. Hi, Eco. How you doing, traveler? I'll be right back. I'm putting some announcements up. Hang on. Okie doke. um, Okay, I'm back. It's snowing to beat the band outside. I was I had a dental appointment earlier this morning, was coming home in the snow. I made it, and I was wearing my trusty Fabergé. Okay, I would appreciate a discussion about aftermarket bracelets and straps. Okay, I can still change from Traveler 1060 back to Al. Okay, Al. The internet has let me down. Hi, Van Cruel. How you doing? Eco. I saw another YouTube channel called Chronoglide. Sounds interesting. Um, some guy going over all the technical stuff of watchmaking. I think it's up your alley. Thank you. Hey, Von Cruel. Although you did see Ming's Satchlet made from laser something 50 for a LLC. Okay. I'll let me let's talk about bracelets first, aftermarket bracelets. The only one I know is the Ming. And all I can say about the Ming bracelet is it's great. Okay. I think it's set for 20 millimeters though. Anything bigger or smaller than that, there may be a problem. But I can recommend it heartily. It's a beautiful one. It's pretty expensive. It's about six. I mean, for a bracelet, it's expensive. It was about $650, I think, when I got mine. This is a couple of years ago. The thing about it is, so I put it on different watches. I had it on my Moritz Grossmann, and then I moved it over to my Larique E2 number 2, where it is now. But if I want to, I can move it to anyone I want. As far as these are concerned, let me tell you something. Something very funny happened. This has been my favorite uh, band outlet, a place called ABP Concepts Paris. Check it out. Sending them to the United States, so I don't know what's going on right now. DHL has it. I got it. I was sent a thing telling me that it's on the way and so forth. Back in November was just a couple of days ago. I'm trying to think how long ago it was, and it was in some kind of thing, and they had something about it's a gator strap. Happen to like gator strap, and there was something about fish and game and all of that good stuff, and I have my fish and game license. And now the thing about ABP Concepts Paris is they're very expensive. However, if you look when they're having a sale and there's certain straps, they're really good straps. They're excellent straps. I have several of them. However, this last one I ordered, God knows the things. International trade has been really screwed up a lot by Trump, and so we're waiting for that to get sorted out. I don't know what the situation would be in other places like Canada or so forth. There's a guy in Canada who's got a place called Combat Straps. Terrible name, but hard to forget. I think his name is Aaron, and Aaron will make you a bespoke strap. Everybody I know who has a strap by Aaron is very, very happy with it. So that's another one. I think if you Google combat straps, you can find the guy, and it's Aaron, and he's got all other stuff, and he's very good. Trying to think what else. Oh yeah, here's a very good one, except they're very expensive again, and this is Jean Rousseau. The good thing about Jean Rousseau or Jean Rousseau, I guess. It's called Jean Rousseau Paris. Their main office is in Paris, but they have a shop in New York. They have a really nice little boutique, and you have to go visit them by appointment, but that's okay. They used to be over by the old Roosevelt Hotel on Madison Avenue, but now they're on Fifth Avenue or just off Fifth Avenue, I think on 57th Street. And so, you go in and it's a real funky place they have. I mean, it's sort of a cool funky, not funky. And you go in and you go upstairs and they have all this stuff. Now, the good thing about it is you're not going to get all turned sideways on the importation of rare skins, because you can get, I think, anything you can get at the Paris shop, you can get at the one in New York City. The other thing is that if if you live in I don't know, Oklahoma or someplace, or Arizona, or Montana, where you can just order them directly from New York, and it's like a local order. It's like ordering them from Amazon. So that, I mean, for these are very high quality straps, and the most bespoke ones are a little more expensive, obviously. All right, so that's as far as straps are concerned. There's some other ones too. There's one strap company that I use a lot. If you want an inexpensive strap, a leather strap, and you can get them with stamped with different kinds of like you can get them with a gator stamp on it, which means that it's a leather strap that looks like a gator strap, or whatever else that they have. So those, uh, going back to who's it? That was Traveler's question. Uh, from that's Those are at least the ones I know of, and two of them I've used, three counting Ming, but that's about it. Anybody else have anything on a third party or aftermarket metal strap? Okay. Chronoglide has helped me learn a ton about watches. That's good to know. Yeah, that's the one. Traveler, uh, the or Al, Al, Aaron Bespoke is the one that he used to be called Combat Straps. I don't know if he calls himself Aaron Bespoke now, but he's the one I was talking about, and they are in Canada. Okay. No, I mean, there's all kinds of political views. To me, with him, it's not political; it's personal. I can't stand the guy; I never could, even when he was a Democrat. I'd rather just sort of leave it out altogether. Okay, all right. We talked about straps. What else do you guys want to talk about? Oh, Steib, German company, do nice mesh bracelets. Okay, that's good to know. Um, what about watches? Where do you think they're going? I found out something the other day. Um, okay, you guys are familiar with Baume Mercier? Are you familiar with that company? Some interesting stuff has happened. Baume Mercier has a um, they're getting sort of quote in-house uh, in-house movements. And the in-house movements, it turns out that the ones that they developed, and apparently it's as early as 2018, that Richemont went and got their own silicon straps, okay, or not silicon straps, silicon hairsprings. And so with the silicon hairspring, so now that sort of moved over into the Richemont group, and that's a major ones. All of the, I mean, and the thing about silicon, it'll solve a lot of problems, but it moves away from traditional watchmaking and moves into, something else. Long Island Watch sells stub bracelets. Oh, good, Al. That's good to know. I didn't know that. Um, okay. Um, what about where you'd like to see watches go? What I what I've been considering is something on what are the very best watches, and given the very best watches, which are affordable. That's sort of a different kind of thing. And what stands as very best? Well, my own criteria is centers around the movement. Others have, finishing and decoupage and everything else. But to me, it's like the best watches have the best movement, and then they vary in terms of the cases and everything else that goes along with it. If you look at one of the most expensive and celebrated watches, the Dufour 37, the Dufour Simplicity 37, is not a very attractive looking watch. It's sort of excuse me, a plain one, but it's got this incredible movement in it, including finishing and horology and everything else about it. But I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care what it looked like. I wouldn't care if they put it into a cheap case made in Timbuktu, as long as it had a really great watch. Hey, Dartmouth, how you doing? Yeah, right, exactly. So what are we looking at if we want to talk about what is the best watch, and what makes it the best watch? And I think there's something instructive about the simplicity, and that is it's not having the most complex watch, but something else that makes it so valuable. That's what the simplicity, or the duality. Those are the two watches that are now. Either one of them is worth a fortune. So, so what? I mean, and yet it has this great movement. So let me ask you this: what makes the simplicity movement so great? It's sort of one of those things. I think, if you start talking about finishing, that doesn't really tell you. That's more of a almost like decoration. Hi, HHPS 10. How you doing? Glasuda original CQ bracelet is made by Brogoli, which apparently makes the best bracelets in the industry. Manual wine, right. I'm just HP. Okay, HP. Not sure what my name comes out that way. what happened apparently it's in your they've changed this all that when we put something down, instead of your name, they put um your email. Let me see if they put mine, and the way they do it, they do an at, no name, just email. Oh, wait a minute. They don't even do that. It's not my email address. I don't have a watch art site. I don't know where they got it from. So anyway, HP, that's the way that's my name isn't watch art site either. The channel is. That's sort of an interesting thing, I think. Okay. Let's uh let's talk about what makes a great movement great. Um I'm not saying that a complicated watch movement isn't great. I'm just saying it's a complicated watch movement. Some are great, some aren't. I had one for a short period of time. I had a Peacock Tourbillon, very cool watch, and um, I like everything about it. How good the movement is, I don't know, and that's sort of like, and how do we judge that? And this is the I guess the finishing is more like a hint of the rest of the movement. If they did this kind of job on the finishing, it implies that the rest of the horology of the watch must be great. There's something to that, but not everything. Yeah, oh, wow. You mean HP, you mean like a samurai sword. Um, I've got a samurai sword. I was in a, oh god, what is it called? Ikata or something like that. There was a I thought it'd be fun to be working with samurai swords. When I was quite young, I was in a Japanese dojo. I don't know, but they talked about the Japanese sharpening, and it would take them how long it would take them to just do a little part of it. Anyway, well, that's another story. Um, Going back to the movement again, let's look at that. Let's try to figure out. I mean, it's like, and I think the simplicity is a good example. And it's like one barrel, and the hairspring is probably, my guess would be probably the one that I don't know what's the name of that company. The one that the one they use on ETA and just about every other. The same ones that FP Journe uses in his watch. Um, but what are the characteristics of it? Oh yeah, the beat rate. That's important to me. That's not important to everybody I know. I don't think chasing after quartz, you know, 32,000 hertz or something like that is going to be the answer. No, I like the slow ones too. I think you have to be better. And like I said, I don't think most watchmakers would agree to me to say, well, you don't have to be better to have a slower one. But all of the great watchmakers, or most of the great watchmakers, are all under 4 hertz. They're all either 3 or 2.5. That's the 18,000. So that's based on that. Yeah, I agree with, you on that one, Al. I like to buy compact too, but I really don't care for chronographs because I probably never use it. I rarely use it. That's my only thing about them. Fancy pocket watches hid the train of wheels made of gold, wheel train. All the materials, this is something my FP Jorn has gold uh, parts to it. Another thing too, I think it's important is the gear train and the nature of the gears. Um, H. Moser, for some reason, has gears that are extremely considered to be really top of the line gears. I don't know what they are, but they're special. And then of course there's the Agonaise gear with the little springs within the teeth to have perfect smoothness. That is another thing. The reason that I got my Chaumet, even though the base movement is ETA, is that it has two of these big Agonaise gears from uh, Agenor, and you can see this smooth Ferris wheel that they have, where the secondhand usually goes, they put in a Ferris wheel, and you can see the thing how smoothly it is, and that because there's absolutely no slippage at all. So I think having top quality gears and gearing is important. Hi, Pocket Watch Time. How you doing? Hi, Tim. Uh, Traveler, Al, accuracy. Yes, accuracy is important, but sort of a hard one. Um, I think, is that if somebody from Mars came down and said, "Hey, you guys, what are you screwing around with these funky old timepieces for?" You got a these smartwatches that are both accurate plus have a lot more information. So why are you messing with these? Why even bother with these mechanical ones and having discussions about accuracy when you can, especially since you use your iPhone or something to do the setting on it, which is gives you all the accurate time you could ever hope for. So that's so accuracy. I still think it's important. It's just, and I think that has to do if you have a slower um, frequency. If your frequency is around 18,000 semi oscillations per hour, you've got to have better gearing and everything else, and better escapement, better balance, better everything. Um, because it's less forgiving. That's one thing. Your higher frequency, they seem to me more forgiving. That was what we used to talking about how airplanes handled. It was one or more or less forgiving, and so I'm sort of putting that into watch accuracy, and I don't know if that how that translates or not. Yeah. Yeah, pocket watch. So yeah, with Patrick, right? So that yeah, I'd rather have something run fast. I'd rather be early than late. It's sort of like you want to be on time. You can be an hour or 2 hours early for a plane, but you can't be a second late. Watch it and go. Um, My wife and I were exactly that. We were trying to catch a train going from New Haven to New York, and we had to drive about 50 miles to the train station, and we were had all of our stuff and everything, and we went finally got out of the elevator up to the platform, and we saw the train just we were a second late. Yeah, accuracy is important, but it's sort of the way it's accurate, I guess, is what I'm concerned about. Otherwise, why wouldn't we all have quartz watches still? Because quartz watches are more accurate. Period. Um, one of the things. Let me get my drawing pad out here. Uh, I'm getting a piece of my drawing paper and all my drawing tools, which is neither of which do much good. But let me show you something. This dawned on me the other day, and I thought, okay. Now, forgive me. Now, one of the big deals in accuracy has to do with constant force, and this, oh, I didn't do it right, but give you the idea. When you look at a battery on a quartz watch, it's straight line. Not mine's not, but it is hypothetically. The other one you have the right after you wind it, it has this most power, and then it goes down and then levels off for about 60%, and then the last 20% dips again. So you got 20% is too fast, then you have sort of 60% that's the Goldilocks range of constant force, and then you have the dropping force after that. But you can compare that to a battery. One is straight and the other one's a curvy line, and you'll see that same line everywhere when in a discussions of constant force and in relationship to a mainspring. And so that's sort of the how is this dealt with? Fusee and chain is one. Um, Remontois Egalité is another one. Your Maltese cross is another. They have all of these mechanisms to maintain constant force, whereas a battery just do it for days or weeks. Yeah, no, Al. I know that. What you're right. What I'm saying is is accuracy is one measure of the quality of everything else going on in the watch. Now, if you have Dufour's simplicity, and I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, I don't think that the simplicity has any kind of modules for correcting the inconstant force of a mainspring. There may be something about the simplicity that does correct for it, but I don't know. I mean, this makes it an interesting topic. On the other hand, if you have a watch that's not correct, it's not a very good watch, and so that's that's another part of it, but it's only one of the measures, and it's sort of that's how come I don't put it at the top. I'm trying to figure out something else that makes a good watch so good. Accuracy being one of the things. Hi, Remus. To me, accuracy is a mark of quality. Of course, I don't expect anywhere near quartz accuracy, but something like COSC shows that the watchmaker takes quality seriously. Yeah. Well, see, this is where I suppose this is my hang up, if you want to call it that. If you put in silicone hairspring, you're going to not have all of the trip ups that you get from having a hairspring made from transitional metals. That's because it is less affected, better or worse, by heat and cold uh, mag, um, magnets, and but it can't be adjusted. And so, in general, it doesn't need to be adjusted. And it's sort of like you take something out of the formula, out of the equation, to help it to be a better running watch. But again, when you get to that, the logical conclusion always comes back to your smartwatches. Um, it's sort of like how was this done? How was this done within, let's say, traditional parameters of watchmaking? Because then you can start putting all kinds of jokers in the deck, and suddenly, yeah, it's accurate, but you know it's a different kind of watch. The other thing about COSC, here's something else that usually isn't asked, and I think, how long does COSC accuracy last? When I got my first Larique watch, the one that we had Agenor made for us, I had it tested for COSC quality, and it passed the COSC quality. um, so it's sort of a funny. But is it still run COSC quality? I think that may be something that might be a criteria for how good the movement is that if it keeps its timing, as you mentioned, 4 to 6 seconds, um, how long does it keep that? If it starts losing that, and I don't, is COSC -4 to +6? That's pretty loose, but if yeah, you got a good story, but I think I don't know, man. I don't know. I got the question about who is the best watchmaker. Um, I always think it's the one I can't afford. I am so impressed with the quality of Moritz Grossmann. Their stuff is just fantastic. I have one watch to base that on. Okay. One of the things that are some of the details that I like, and one of them happens to be with the regulator. And what they have, somebody told me what the correct name is, so bear with me. But basically, a regulator, you figure you got this little stick on top of the what's it called? The balance cock. It's right on top of the balance cock, and it's coming out from the center of the balance wheel. And they have a swan neck. That's one thing that is I like the swan neck because that both keeps the spring where you want it in terms of tightness or looseness. But what Mertz Grossman has, they have a screw drive, and they have something that looks like this. This being the screw drive, and then you screw it one way, and it'll move it just a little, sort of like certain garage door openers use that screw drive. And now that's going to cost more. It's going to take more talent and everything else to put it together than what's on one of my favorite Hong Kong AliExpress watch movements that I have. Yeah, Al, I that that's the way I found out. So mine were not as accurate as they used to be. Van Cruel. Who have ever heard of a crappy swan neck? But Von Cruel, I believe you. It's just like, oh, I got a bad swan neck. I don't know why. I guess it's not funny if it's your swan neck. And the fact that you could remove it and still have it watching, that's good for you. Doing a little watchmaking there. Um, oh, it was a cheap one. Well, phooey. This is something, it's cheap and accurate, or cheap and quality are not necessarily linked. Um, I have I got a $200 regulator from a place called Perpetual Watches in Hong Kong. This guy's very proud of his watches. Now he uses Siegel movements, but I think he makes sure they're good Siegels as opposed to just anyone, because there was some watches that he was making, and he got some bad ones, and for whatever, because he's got more than just regulators. I forgot which one it was, but they weren't very good. So he sent them all back and demanded the good ones, and he got them. And so, yeah, but you're still talking about something under $500, not only under 5,000. And he does really good work, and his stuff holds up. I've got my $100 tourbillon that works just dandy, except it's ugly as sin, especially the dial that I put it together with. Oh, I love that one, Al, the Pano Inverse. I love that. That is one of my favorite watches, and it's one of the few that they haven't insisted on having the silicon with, because otherwise, if you try to adjust the silicon hairspring, it'll break. Another thing is sort of interesting. I'd heard some years ago, a couple years ago, about Oh, Kasapi. Uh, what's her name? Forstier Kasapi. She was the one, I think it was in 2012, who won the Watchmaker of the Year and stuff, with really some incredible movements that she developed for Cartier. And then she went over to Tag Heuer to become their A1 watchmaker. And she started working with carbon hairsprings. And apparently, I guess in one of the new Monacos, they have the carbon hairspring, and I think that that has. I don't know why carbon hairsprings don't bother me as much as silicone ones, but they pretty much the same characteristic. I don't think you can adjust a carbon hairspring any more than you can a silicone one. But still, it's sort of like, it's these things come to be important and popular at some point, and you got to have and you get a Monaco, and it's more accurate than the ones that they had before, but it's still got at the base of it is an ETA movement. Yeah, I think the only another thing, and again, I don't hate to, I'm glad we can do it. Um, a similar kind of really incredible part of a movement is the Agon Pit regulator. I don't know if you guys seen that, but Jean-Marc Viderec did a little video on it, and we have it on our the Reek watches. Glad we do. And it, you, I don't, I don't know how it works. I just know it's really a cool looking thing. You take a screwdriver and you unscrew this one part and move it, and then you tighten it back up again, and then another part you loosen, and then you move it and then tighten it up again. So one is for the beat and the other one is for the frequency. And so you can, and that's the same thing that Panawan Verse does, except theirs is butterfly, which I think is one of the best looking regulators around, or regulator adjusters, I guess you'd call it. Yeah. Um, Al, yes, they are much cheaper. They probably cost a lot to develop in the first place. That I'll give them that. But once developed, they come out on these sheets. Have you ever seen the way that metal hairsprings are done? My God, this is why so few people do them. It was um, Smith, uh, Roger Smith, has can do everything on a movement, on a watch movement, except the hairspring. He can do the I don't know. There's a video of him making his own cases, and he starts with a rod of gold and he runs it through this thing to flatten it, does everything with it. It's just amazing. But he never was able to master the hairspring. I think that George Daniels had listed, I don't know, a number of different things to master, and I think that George Roger Smith mastered all of them, except he never mastered the hairspring. So, on the other hand, you can't. I mean, there's a couple things I think. You're right about the manufacturer come off a sheet. I don't know. To me, it's that they look like they put them in a microwave and cook them, and then out they come and they're all ready. They remind me a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if the same technology was involved in it, but they have the same, I think it's the same way that computer wafers are made, where they have a microscope and they have this big circuit board, and then it turns out the thing's the size of a crumb. It's this little bitty thing, but they have a microscope that they can work on it with, and then they come out in these big sheets. And I think, but I'm not positive, the reason I think that is that I know some of the people who were involved in the development of it, and they all came from sort of the Silicon Valley mindset. Yeah, I agree, Van Cruel. Yeah, that's a neat video. It's one of the things. It's very well explained, very simple, and basically, what you do is you make an adjustment, put it on your time grapher, see which way is it fast or slow, and then you adjust it again. In fact, even on the I don't know how it looks, something like this. Phooey. If you look at it, my bottom thing, that F for fast and then S for slow, and then the little hatch marks in between. Then you have the two screws, and you unscrew them and then move and then screw them back in to tighten it and then check it. And then there's some other two other screws. You do the same thing for it for the beat. Very cool thing. So yeah, I think it's cool. Oh, you're running it in a time grapper while you're. Oh yeah, you mean you leave it on? Sure, but I you don't. Do you put your watch in the clamp while you're adjusting it? That I guess is possible. Instead of instead of putting it into one of these things, I guess just as well you could put it into. Here's one of the things I got. The latest problem I run into. I used to destroy, lose parts and everything, but now I've been having a devil of a time with the stems. Um, put the stem in, got everything's working great. It winds it up and it pulls that out and then sets it and then push it back in again. What I've had is that every time I clip it, it doesn't go back in right again. So I have to order a whole new set of stems now. And I'm not a watchmaker. I mean, a pretentious watchmaker is a good label for what I do, but if nothing else, you understand a little more about watches. Well, Al, to tell you the truth, I have had some of my watches like to do that. And I'll tell you one, my Chronomet Souverain, that thing it it got screwed up all the time by magnetic fields. What happened was that one of the times I sent it in for servicing, it came back and I never had that problem again. And what I think they did, there was an update in 2018 to the hairspring that they were using. They don't make their own hairsprings either, FP Journe. And they put that thing in, and boy, that seemed to solve the magnetic problems, the anti-magnetic. So it's something that it's a real thing with some, but I think with our new watches, we have a Strawman hairspring. And the Strawman hairspring, and another one, a really excellent hairspring is Rolex. But Rolex decided to go ahead and put in the silicon. I cut off too much. That's probably it. But I don't know. I'm ordering a whole new set of hair of stems. I've been trying to make my grandson's watch, and the last thing I had to do was get that thing right, and I couldn't do it. I I pulled out every stem that I had, and all these other watches had them the long stem, put it in, got it working fine, took it out, had trimmed it just a little, and so I got back to the drawing board. Yeah. with with a sort of a whole box. I also bought a box of screws too. I got about 1,000,000 screws and some other stuff. So anyway, guys, I tell you, my time is about up. I get an hour on Tuesdays, but just to kick around some ideas and talk. Thanks you all for dropping by, and thanks for coming up with some good topics. Anyway, take care now. See you next time.